This is Ismail, and he got into Y Combinator with a product built entirely on Lovable. 2,000 prompts, 0 traditional code, 1 month of work. And Ismail is not a developer, but that did not stop him from building Brickwise, an AI property manager that automates maintenance for landlords. And it's already making revenue. In this video, we're gonna cover how he validated and came up with the idea, his go-to-market strategy, and general advice that he has for founders building with AI out there. Let's jump into the video. I'm here with Ismail, and he went absolutely viral on Twitter because he claimed that he built his entire company on Lovable and got into YC. So my first question is this true?
At the point of hitting the submit button on our YC application, yes. I have the logs on Lovable to prove it. We have a bunch of prompts that we've paid for. Having said that, my co-founder is one of the most technical people in the world, and I'm pretty sure YC were very well aware of that as a theme. His previous company that he worked in as an early engineer got acquired by Google. He was one of 4 engineers that worked on a product that generated, I think, over $100 million in revenue over a few years. He's an extremely technical person. The reason why the article had that theme is, for us, what was more important than the quality of what was being built at the time was being able to identify a problem worth solving. And I'm of the view that you don't always need to spend a long time writing high quality code to figure out whether you're building something people want. I think we were able to identify that without that. And we've since built on the foundation of what we first applied with.
How did you come up with the idea, and what is your story?
I've had some experience within kind of the family business, dabbling into property and understanding what works and what doesn't work and things like that. So I had an understanding of the problem in the property space. And just coincidentally at that time, I think Lovable became visible. I'm sure it existed slightly before that, but okay, this thing seems quite cool. Let me just play around with it. I think what Lovable has done very well is delivering what I described as the magic moment very quickly. So the fact that a non-technical person can write non-technical words and produce a technical outcome very quickly. That's like this is really cool. Let me keep going. And before you guys took away the 1 prompt per token charge, I used to write massive 5-paragraph prompts to try and maximize value. I was probably the reason you changed your system, right? But it was really cool because I could write stuff, I could get outcomes. I could write stuff, I could get outcomes. And I think became reasonably technical as I was figuring this out. So I was creating edge functions on Supervase by speaking to ChatGPT and figuring out what that needs to look like, and then going back to Lovable and getting it to talk to these systems. But a lot of what we've done, integrating Stripe checkout, integrating Google Analytics, Mixpanel, all of these things were just back and forth conversations between myself and Lovable.
Can you quickly describe to the viewers what your company is, or what your product does?
Yes. Probably should have started off with that. We're building an AI property manager that automates maintenance for landlords and real estate agents. There's 2 sides to the experience. The tenant is given a phone number and an email address. They can call, message, WhatsApp 24/7. And the idea here is that if there's a leak at 8 p.m., somebody is there to not just pick up the call and help you fix it, but if it can't fix the issue, it would contact the maintenance teams from that landlord or from that property management firm to ensure that the issue is logged, that there's a contractor going out. It would allow you to schedule with them and things like that. And then, of course, on the other side, for the property manager or for the landlord, all of these conversations are logged, recorded, and they're given visibility to ensure that things are being managed properly.
So how would that go? Who would get the product? Who would be the paying customer?
It'll be the landlord or the property management firm, and typically the latter. They're often managing 1 to 500 properties at the moment. Some are a bit larger than that, some a little bit smaller, and they tend to have a bottleneck in just how much demand that they're getting from dealing with issues, and that limits their ability to scale. So if you've got 200 properties today and you want to get to 400, you usually need to hire 1.7x the staff members you have. That's often quite difficult because it's quite expensive upfront and you might not have the cash flow to do that. And so you need more properties to make the money, but you can't get the money until you get the properties, and so you can't hire the people to do that. So there are all of these kind of back and forth pieces. And I think AI has finally made it possible to scale without having to hire as quickly. So rather than 1.7x the staff to 2x your output, you can hire 1.2x the staff. So it might just be one more person, and then the gap can be filled by the product that we built.
And how many customers do you guys have today?
I can't give the exact number, but we kind of built out the more technically complex aspects of the product kind of from getting into YC. In October, we were able to sign our first kind of small landlords. And then from the back of that, we started focusing on larger contracts, which we're in the process of signing now as we build up to demo day. I
think the viewers are going to be very, very curious to kind of the integrations you have. You have like various agents that are automating different things, I would assume.
The agent right now can respond to emails, respond to WhatsApp, respond to SMS, and pick up and respond to phone calls. Once that happens, that entire conversation is logged. We will then find contractors that can fix that issue for you if the landlord or the property manager doesn't have their preferred contractors. And we've plugged in a Google API to be able to do this. We filter for quality, locality, things like that. And the idea here is that we can pretty much guarantee that we'll find someone available to fix the issue for you right away. If you are a larger company and you've got preferred or full-time staff members to deal with maintenance, we will contact them on your behalf. The beauty of AI is its ability to do multiple things at the same time. The greatest property manager can still only really make one phone call at a time, right? So if it's desperate, it's, coming up to Christmas, hardly anybody's available and it's cold, the heating is broken, frantically calling one at a time until somebody picks up and confirms that they're available. In the case of AI, it can contact 50 at a time. And the beauty of that is you can very quickly get the quote that you need from, of those 50, here's 10 quotes. These 7 are out of budget. These 3 are available today. You want to go ahead and authorize that. The other part of that is its ability to understand a lot of context. So the best of property managers are ones that actually know hows of property. Like if somebody calls and says, oh, my boiler has an issue, it's got this error code. A good person that kind of has experience dealing with this issue would say, that error code means this. Have you tried doing that? That might get you to fix it right away. The AIs that we've built has that context already built in. So you can take a picture and it would recognize, oh, that's the boiler brand, that's the model, this is the error code. You might need to bleed the boiler. That might sound complicated. Let me guide you to help you to do that because we can fix it for you right away. And this just happens from the get-go. This is a permanent staff member in your team. You don't need to retrain people to know this information.
The agent, so it's like a WhatsApp agent. Is that the main line of contact, kind of?
We've got 4 channels, WhatsApp, SMS, email, and phone. And we have all 4 because people have different preferences at different times. What's good is that they sync together. So you can start with phone and then pick up on email and then follow up with SMS.
Okay, I think the viewers are going to be very curious to know how you built it, how many credits it costed.
A total of about 2,200, 2,300 credits. And for what it's worth, just to be super clear, since we got into YC, we did have to build a lot more on the engineering side to achieve some of the functionality we wanted. At the point of the application, I think it would have been closer to 15 to 1,700 prompts to get to inception or the initial version where we had customers using the product and paying and things like that to try it out. And then after that, we doubled down on building these integrations to third-party tools and infrastructure and all of that was necessary. And it really was just a case of once I was able to get the first few prompts to give me what I wanted, I think one of the benefits of not being technical is I didn't know what the limitations were. So I just kept assuming that it could do it. And I prompted accordingly. Whereas I think if you come from a technical background, and I've spoken to a lot of engineers, they go in assuming that certain things are not possible, so they wouldn't bother trying. I didn't know. So I just went ahead and did it, which I think one of the best types of users for Lovable, and I'm sure you've seen this on your side too. It's often product designers, product managers, non-technical people that have exposure to engineers in some way, shape or form, I think are the ones to unlock the kind of highest level of value.
But how did you validate the idea? How did you know this was going to work? Or I guess maybe you didn't know, but you just went for it. Yeah. I don't know. How did you reason here?
This is why I think we went for a quicker, non-engineering heavy approach, because the core functionality, like the basics of it, you can sign up, you can call an agent, it would put a ticket for you in front of you, it would search for some of the maintenance folks. That part, like we got it to work. And then we just put it in front of potential customers and okay, this seems really helpful. Some of them joined as paying customers. I was like, this has legs. This is clearly something that people are interested in and they want. That was the point where we then took a step back and said, okay, let's start thinking really about how to build this in a way where when it has hundreds of thousands of concurrent users within a given month, it's built in a way that it can handle that. But you don't need to solve a scale problem on day one. If I built a bad product very well with great engineering and it had zero validation when I put it in front of customers, for me, that's a bad outcome. It doesn't matter that the product was built well. I'd much rather put together something that is sufficiently useful, however quickly hacked together it is, put it in front of who you think your customers are and see if they resonate with the idea, see if they're interested, see if they're willing to try it out, pay for it ideally, because then that gives you the real signal that this is worth building.
How long did it take to make that super early version?
I think it must have been about a month, maybe a month and a half or so of just like tinkering in the evenings and on the weekends and things like that to get it to a stage where it's interesting and somewhat works. Like a very, very early quick version was like maybe within the first week and a half, but one where we can put in front of other people. A month-ish was about the right amount of time. And I think what I was touching on earlier, I'm not sure if this was captured, but it is for me, I think, much more important to prove that this is something people want in whatever method you can. And if you can validate that, then you can spend some time building it out more substantially.
Let me ask you for some general startup advice. There's probably going to be a bunch of founders watching this video, and maybe they're thinking about raising money, maybe bootstrapping, maybe they don't have an idea yet, maybe they do have an idea yet. What are some quick advice that you have?
YC pushes launching quickly as a main theme because you find out as quickly as possible whether you're on the right track or not. And also launching doesn't mean you only need to launch once. You can probably launch multiple times and people wouldn't even realize that you'd launched before. So how does that translate into something tangible and actionable? If you have an idea or a problem that you think is worth solving, try and get something that is reasonably good enough to get into the hands of people as quickly as possible, because you'd be very surprised how wrong you can be with what you think users want. But you will never know until you speak to them. And if you take a year to speak to them, it would take a year to learn that a lot of what you've done was not worth the time. Whereas if you get a base level together within a month or a few weeks, you can get that something in front of them and learn very quickly. This part is good, great. This is the wrong direction. Let me correct that. So getting that feedback loop early, I would highly recommend for most people, most of the time. If you are building, planes and rockets, probably don't do that. You might need to spend more time getting it right before you launch. But for the most part, with most of the ideas that people have.
So currently, have you moved the project entirely to like Cursor or VS Code, or are you collaborating on Lovable?
So now the main use case of Lovable for us is very quickly putting together UI and wireframing in customer demo calls, especially when they want to kind of have a look and feel as to how will this integrate for us, or what would it look like if we had our customers on this platform and this is the workflow. We would use it very quickly to put something that we can showcase. And when we get that validation, we would then need to integrate it into our existing tech stack. And oftentimes that's kind of beginning to kind of get away from what was first built on Lovable. So I guess its role has now shifted away from what was the core product for validation and more towards very quickly putting something together that users can touch, see, scroll around, play around with to demonstrate that this is what it's going to be like. What do you think? Is that helpful? What would you like to change?
Your go-to-market strategy. Do you have any advice on that? How do you currently acquire customers, find leads?
What we do is two parts. We've gotten pretty good at LinkedIn marketing. I think 1 in 4 people that we cold message on LinkedIn reply, which is, I think, a reasonably high conversion rate. And then we have a very good free version of the product that you can play around with on our homepage without needing to sign up. So you can call the agent, email the agent yourself, WhatsApp the agent, play around with it. The good thing there is when someone's tried the product, we have a rough idea of who they are, right? We've got their email and number now. And we just reach out to them and say like, hey, how was your demo? Did you like it? What didn't you like? I'd love to actually showcase the entire product to you if you're interested in a phone call. Just in the past 2 weeks, I think we had 100 people try out the product and 24 booked demo calls with us. And I think that's a number that's going to increase pretty quickly as domain trends rises and more people try out the product. But it's a great way for us to actually get in front of people that are interested in the problem that we're solving.
Do you have any advice when building something with Lovable? Right now, we have kind of more discussed like how to create a successful company, but any specific Lovable advice?
Sometimes I feel like, I'm not sure if it's a good thing, but I feel like I can write prompts sometimes better than engineers can, because there's a non-technical mindset to writing prompts, I found, and I think it works better, which is talk to it in the least technical way possible, as if a kid could understand. And sometimes I actually give screenshots of where I want the change, and I describe the problem and I bullet point what I want the change to look like. And I typically get my desired outcome very quickly. I think it's probably inadvisable to try and change a lot at the same time. Being very, very specific and very focused on your changes at a time, that's usually quite helpful. If it's something that's quite complex and detailed, I'd sometimes actually go into ChatGPT and I would lazily write what I want and I would ask ChatGPT to frame this in a way that would be clear and cohesive for me to put onto Lovable. And then ChatGPT would give me the prompt to give to Lovable as well.
And do you also brief ChatGPT that you want to build it in Lovable? Because sometimes ChatGPT
I'd be very clear, like I'm using Lovable. I need a prompt that's going to achieve the following outcome. How would you do this? And I'd read what it says. And if I don't like it, or it's too long, or it's too, like verbose or whatever, I would ask it to fix according to. I'd go back and forth to ChatGPT. In the early days, I'd do that to just save money on the Lovable prompts because it was easier for me to chat to ChatGPT, get it right, and then go into Lovable to just use one prompt and get it done.
A lot of users, I feel like this is the biggest problem we have, that people get stuck. Like they start building something with Lovable and then they just hit like a wall almost. I think we have made some improvements in that with the agent and some updates, but did that ever happen to you? And what did you do in those
100%.
scenarios?
I think this is where the having a background in product or in design or working with engineers, even if you weren't writing the code, is very helpful because you get very used to things not working first time round and needing to spend time to get it to work. That isn't something that non-technical people are used to when it comes to using the internet. Like, you write an essay and as you type, you get the words and it works, right? You're not used to telling Lovable to do X and it doesn't do X. And you just assume that, okay, I guess Lovable doesn't work, therefore I'm out. But there's a teaching moment there to kind of get people to understand how engineering works. And sometimes the conflict isn't because of something that's obvious. There's some other file somewhere else that caused an issue that you weren't aware of. And in this new prompt that you've added, those clash and now there's a new problem. And I think Lovable has improved in trying to fix things like that. They are, actively trying to fix issues and so on. But I think there is a teaching moment for users to learn why things go wrong and why that's not always a bad thing. And writing a prompt to fix what went wrong is not Lovable making a mistake, whereas it feels like that sometimes. Like one of the suggestions which an engineer friend of mine recommended, and I did this on my side, but they suggested that if there are certain things that need to exist in your product, build them in early because you want to get them right. Payments, auth, analytics, things like that. So I'd probably recommend having like a beginner's builder stack for everybody on Lovable. Like, hey, let's just set up these core things. Like, what are you building? Okay, great. You're going to need sign up. You're going to need payments. You're going to need this, that. Press this button. Let's just get this out of the way because we don't want these things to break. I was given that advice. I did that. Those were the least likely things to break in the version of the product that I first built. But I know if if prompt number 3000 was dealing with payments, I just expect things to go wrong.
Thank you so much, Ismail, for having this chat and this conversation. I think it was very valuable for the viewers out there. And we had some really interesting conversations. You can check out Ismail on LinkedIn and Twitter. Thank you so much, Ismail, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.